So, good evening. Hope I am audible. So, good evening to all. The most respected resource person of the day, Dr. Anoop KK, the most respected participants of the national webinar on scientific writing and publishing, organized by the School of Engineering Library, Cochin University of Science and Technology, Kochi, Kerala. I welcome all participants to this webinar. And I also welcome our most respected resource person to this webinar. And the resource person of the webinar today is Dr. Anoop KK. He is an assistant professor at the Department of Physics, Cochin University of Science and Technology. Before joining CUSAT, Dr. Anoop was a postdoctoral fellow at the Raman Research Institute, Bangalore. Dr. Anoop obtained his PhD in physics from the University of Naples, Italy in April 2015. He is an internationally recognized teacher, researcher, writer, and reviewer in the field of laser physics. He has published several research papers in reputed journals. Recently, one of his papers was published in the journal Reviews of Modern Physics by the American Physical Society. And the journal's impact factor is 49.5, which is one of the highest impact factor in science journal. We received around 700 registrations from all states of India, and that shows the interest scholars and teachers show towards the resource person and his team. So on behalf of the School of Engineering Library and on behalf of all participants and on my own personal behalf, I welcome you, sir, to this important webinar and invite you to start the session. And over to you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. I hope I'm audible to everyone. Good morning, all. Good evening, all. Once again, I welcome all of you to this national webinar on scientific writing and publishing. So we started similar programs almost 6 months back at the Cochin University of Science and Technology. And we got an excellent response from participants, and we thought of conducting one national webinar on scientific writing and publishing. So we got an excellent response. So we got almost 700 registration and from different parts of India, almost from all states we got registration. So thank you all. Once again, I welcome you all to this national webinar on scientific writing and publishing. So today we are going to discuss mainly 4 points. First, briefly, I will discuss what is the importance of scientific writing and publishing. Then, for scientific writing, the literature review is a very important role. So I will discuss the importance of literature review. Then the third point, steps in scientific writing, that is today's major topic. I will be discussing about 30 minutes on this topic, steps in scientific writing. Finally, after writing scientific article manuscript, we had to communicate to the suitable journal. So I will give some suggestion on choosing the right journal. So these are the 4 points we are going to cover in the next 1 hour. So before going to the presentation, I would like to give 2 suggestions. Most of you are MSc students, research scholars, or newly joined research scholars, newly joined assistant professors, librarians. So I would like to give some suggestions, especially if you are very new to this new to research field. So I don't know how many of you have read this book. This is a e-book. This is the first non-detailed account of an entire PhD experience. This is written by Philippe Guo. He is an associate professor, and he obtained his bachelor and master's from MIT and a PhD from Stanford. So he wrote a book on his full PhD experience, and this book was published in 2012, and this was one of the excellent books in this category. We don't have this many books in this category like PhD life experience. So if you get time, I recommend all of you to read this book. Is you need minimum 1 or 2 days are enough to complete this reading. So the book name is The PhD Grind by Philippe Guo. So I recommend everyone to read this book. And another recommendation, recently, at Cochin University, we started an American corner, and with a collaboration with the US Consulate Chennai. In American corner has many duties and responsibilities. In that, one of the highlighting point is e-library. If you take the e-library membership, you have access to many e-books, audio books, digital magazines, and press reader. You can read thousands of newspapers around the world. Research articles, you get 15 lakh theses, and a Canopy, that is a award-winning platform for award-winning films and videos. So this is an excellent platform. E-library USA, if you get I will share at the end of the talk, I will share how to take membership from eLibrary USA. So if you take eLibrary membership as a researcher, is a you have abundant collection of e-resources. So I recommend everyone to take the membership. These 2 things, this will help a lot to improve your scientific writing, or understanding about different research areas, different things happening in your area. So these are the 2 recommendations. If you get time, you read this book. The book name is The PhD Grind by Philippe J. Guo. And if possible, you take the e-library USA membership. For Cochin University students, this is free. If you visit American Corner at Cochin University, you can freely access all the e-resources. But if you want personal membership, personal login and a password, you can contact American Center Chennai, and I will give the details at the end of this talk. So these are my 2 suggestions before starting the presentation. So this is the first point. We all are involved in scientific writing and publishing, because we are nowadays, MSc students, after completing their MSc project, they start writing scientific article. Research scholars, of course, they need publications as a part of it is necessary for PhD programs, and assistant professors, all the associate professors, everyone involved in scientific writing. That means it is a part of our job, or it's a part of our life. So all are involved in scientific writing, all researchers. So mainly, this scientific writing, mainly I noticed that most of the students or researchers consider it is only for career advancement, and it's also a benchmark for institutional excellence. The quality of institution depends the quality of papers coming from that institute. So these are the 1 or 2 points. But other than that, the scientific writing has an excellent important role It is also, dissemination of knowledge, impact on society, addressing the global challenges. It's an inspiration for future research and credibility and trust and documenting intellectual contributions. So there are especially if you consider like impact on society. So for example, as a physicist, for example, invention of LED. When I was doing high school, I was at a high school standard and I was using the incandescent bulbs. Then it became CFL, combat fluorescent lamps. Then it became LED. LED power consumption, compared to incandescent bulb CFL, it is very less. For example, 1/6, that is enough. So if you involve in a research activities, it has directly or indirectly connected to our social, economic, different stages of our life. So uh, don't think that publications or scientific articles publishing are only for career advancement, or it's not only for benchmark for institutional excellence. It has especially it has impact on your society, addressing the global challenges like, for example, global warming, water pollution, air pollution, poverty. There are different challenges we face. So if our research can contribute any one of these challenges, that is the most important part of our research. So focus on that one. When you think about publication, scientific writing or publishing, always don't think about the career advancement or getting only for getting PhD. I noticed that some are working on scientific writing and publishing only for they to obtain PhD or to get increment or to get a promotion. It's not that like that. So it has a significant role on the it directly or indirectly has an impact on society and different challenges that we face. So these are the, please note that scientific writing and publishing has a direct impact on our social things. So next is the importance of literature review. So we all know that literature review, for example, suppose you started working on a topic, for example, improving the the efficiency of a light source, or improving the obtaining the color of a particular LED, or to get something new light source. So there are different topics research topics. So physics, chemistry, bio, whatever your topic. So here literature review. Suppose you have selected a topic. So suppose I am taking laser applications, a topic. So laser, it is invented in 1960. So I had to look for all the applications starting from 1960. So it has that is a literature review. If you take a particular topic for your research, so you identify all the topics, all the articles or theses related to that topic from its starting point. When it was started, when that research started, then collect all the materials, whether it is a dissertation, thesis, or a fresh article, textbooks, everything, collecting all the materials related to that topic. That is known as a literature review. The systematic and thorough search for all type of published literature as well as other sources, including dissertation, thesis, in order to identify as many items as possible. So thorough literature review is very, very important for scientific writing. So that will help you, to improve the quality of your scientific article. We'll discuss that later. So that is a coming. So importance of literature review. So suppose I told you, if you want to start a research on a particular topic, then you have to identify all the existing knowledge on that topic. That is known as a literature review. So to discover what information exists on our topic of interest, so you collect all the information exists on that topic. So that is known as a literature review. From that, you identify what is the missing point or what you can do something new to improve the quality of that work, to improve the quality of that instrument, to improve the quality of that issue. So like that, we have starting point for your research. If you read all the almost all the existing information on that topic, then you get some new ideas to improve that area. And it also gives scholarly authority to your work, because all are scientific proof. You have enough proof from all the sources. So these are you can trust these sources. and make effective use of time by focusing on appropriate resources. So you don't want to waste time. If you read all the things, then you understand this work has already done in 1990. This has one already done in 2005. So you don't want to repeat that one. So you can avoid duplication. So thorough literature survey is very important to identify the proper topic, identify what we can do something new, and that avoids the duplication. So always, whenever you start a research on a particular topic, do a detailed literature review. It has a very important role in scientific writing as well. So we'll discuss that later. So when you do literature survey, I think you might have covered this during your research methodology course center. First, you identify your research area and topic. So usually we do after doing master's project, you get some research ideas, or you interact with some experts, you get some research idea, or some students, after joining PhD, if your supervisor is expert in that area, he or she has many ideas in that area. So they may give different ideas. You can choose that topic. So that depends. And nowadays, most of the students are coming with ideas. So in the past, it was not like that. In the past, many were depending on the supervisor to get some ideas. But nowadays, students have because of the research is very active in the master's level onwards. So nowadays, our students are coming with ideas. So first you identify the research area and the topic, and then do a thorough literature survey. So identify all the sources of literature. We'll discuss that later, and compile all it properly. Then you had to take notes while reading. Suppose you are working on, as an example, suppose you are working on some laser applications. I told you laser was invented in 1960. So from 1960 onwards, you are identifying different laser applications. Then you have all the survey literature survey from 1960 to 2025. Okay, that is a long period. So when you read a particular paper, you take notes while reading. And finally, you have to write a literature review. That is nowadays it's a trend, especially in China and in many Western countries also. They do this literature review. So after by the end of 1 year of PhD program, students write a literature review on that topic. You can publish if you want. If you get approval from your professor, you can publish also. But you usually literature review usually is prepared by the experts, but you can write with the help of your supervisor, and then you get a detailed idea about what happened in your research area, full history of the topic. Then after doing this detailed literature review, you can identify new problems, new issues, new ideas. Then you can implement that during your research period. That is a conventional step in literature review. So always please note, if you are doing PhD program, by the end of 1 year, you should write a literature. I'm not telling to publish, but if you have a proper literature review by the end of 1 year, that will you can save a lot of time during your PhD, and that will help you in writing the scientific articles also. That is as an excellent role in PhD life. And sources of literature, that I don't want to mention all these things. Always follow the standard platforms for searching the literature. There are standard platforms, Web of Science, ResearchGate, different platforms are available. So open source are available for different branches of science, different for management, for social science, different source of literature available. Nowadays we have ONOS, identify the suitable platform. You try to download all the papers related to your research area. So that is the most important thing. Sources of literature, always follow the standard platforms. Don't directly follow some general Google links or images handle. Directly follow the standard platforms. So another thing, sources of literature. So when you do literature review, you get many resources. For example, primary literature means that is the original research articles, dissertations, means recently published dissertations, technical reports, conference proceedings. This everything latest things. These are original, these are known as primary literature. Primary literature includes original research article, dissertations, technical reports, conference things. And now there are secondary literature. Secondary literature means literature review articles, books. Literature review, I already mentioned. It is an article that compiles all the activities. As an example, as I mentioned earlier, if I work on laser applications, 1960 to 2025, all the applications you compile, then that is known as a review article. So if you follow a review article, literature review articles, then you get idea. When you read a one paper, you get full idea about what happened in that area. This, you may not get the details of each work, but you get a broad idea. Okay, what happened in that field. And you can also depend on books. There are like different books available in each branch of science or management, social science, arts field. Different books are available, standard books are available. So these are known as books and literature review articles. Articles are known as secondary. And there are another source that is known as a tertiary literature. So that is known as textbooks, dictionaries, encyclopedia, handbook. These are already existing things. For example, dictionary, textbooks. For example, when we learn many physics topics, we learned many basic science topics during our +2 period. So if you want to revise that topics, for example, suppose some charged particle in an electric field, force acting on a charged particle, some basic things about the physics topics. If you need physics, chemistry, all topics, you can refer your +2 books. Okay, so that is known as tertiary, textbooks, dictionaries. There are some science dictionaries, encyclopedia, handbooks. You can depend on all these things. That is very, very important. Primary resources, you may not get all the basics. When you read, especially newcomers, you may not get all the meaning of all sentence from the primary original research article. For that, you can depend on, to understand that topic in detail, you can depend on secondary literature, that is books and review articles, and you can also depend on tertiary literatures. And the thing I told, first you have identify your research area, then collect all from different resources and compile it properly. That is very important. You should compile all the things in a proper way. That I can give you one example. For example, if you are a PhD student, you should compile all your documents in a precise way. Okay, if you want to take any one of the file, you should be able to take within 30 seconds. Usually I tell this to my students. So if you defined everything in a proper way and you saved everything, and if you want to take one of the saved papers, you should be able to take that paper within 30 seconds from your computer. So in that way, you perfectly align, design, arrange everything properly. For example, books, separate folder, journal papers, thesis, coursework, your data, results, softwares, conference, internship, workshops, paperwork, personal documents, job, postdocs, photos, some temporary files. So there are different sections when we, if you are a PhD student or MSc student, research scholar, sorry, whatever position you have, we are involved in different activities. So always organize your files properly. So with this, we conclude our introduction part. These are the first, I told you, take the read the PhD grind book, and if possible, take the e-library USA membership. Then I mentioned about the importance of a literature review. Importance of a literature review. So properly identify your research area, collect all the articles from standard resources and compile it properly. Then, write a literature review, take notes while reading, and do a detailed, write a literature review. So if you do this one properly, that means you can tell that you have completely successfully completed 1 year of your PhD program. Okay, that is the general we defined. So try to do in this way. So literature review has an important role in when you write the scientific articles. So this is the two things I want to mention. Now we move on to our today's main topics, that is steps in scientific writing. So we know that if you download a paper, if you download a scientific article, you know that the structure of your scientific article, research article, is shown in the slide. So it is generally known as you know that first one is a title, then you have abstract, then here keywords. That is the general structure of an article: title, abstract, keywords. Then it is known as a IMRAD format. That is the technical word. Sorry, that is the common format in writing scientific journals. IMRAD means introduction, methods, results, and discussion. That is known as the short form. It is known as IMRAD. Okay. First title, abstract, keyword, then introduction, methods, results, and discussion. So that section, that part is known as a IMRAD. And finally, conclusion, acknowledgement, reference, and supporting materials. So this is the general structure of I hope you read many articles during your research period. So this is the standard structure of a research article. But when you write research articles, we don't follow this part. First, we cannot write title, then we cannot write abstract. It's not like that. So when you write research articles, this is not the format. That is today's our discussion. So this is the general structure of an article, but when you write scientific article, we follow different structure. Okay, so that is today's topic. So we can discuss one by one. So steps to organizing your manuscript. So when you write a manuscript, usually we follow this structure. So first you prepare your figures and table. You can write down one by one, First is prepare your figures and table. So you have identified your topic, you did research on that topic, and you have obtained many results from your study. Then, first thing you want to do, the next step is writing writing a scientific article, research article. So the first step in organizing your manuscript is prepare, or properly prepare all figures and tables. Okay. Second is methods. We'll discuss one by one in the coming slides. And next 25 to 30 minutes, we will be discussing on these 11 points. So first, prepare figures and tables. You can note down one by one. Second is methods. For doing experimentals, it is known as experimental methods or experimental details. Second is methods. Third, results and discussion. Methods means what are the approach, what and all methods you follow to obtain these results. That is known as methods. Then, we have results and discussion. Some people, combinedly write results and discussion, or you can separately write results, then discussion, then conclusion, then introduction, then abstract, then title, then keywords, acknowledgement, and references. Okay. We arrange references when we write, but finally, all the final rearrangements we can do reference at the end. So this is the steps in organizing. So now we are going to discuss one by one what is. So let me repeat again. First is figures and prepare figures and table. Second, methods. Third, your results and discussion part, results and discussion, third and fourth section. Then conclusion, then introduction, then abstract, then title, then keywords, then acknowledgements, then finally, references. This is the standard format in organizing a manuscript. So there are many articles, about steps to structuring a scientific paper. But I am following this paper written by Dr. Angel Borja. He wrote this article in 2021. Okay. Now I'm going to follow one method proposed by Professor Angel Borja, and the article title is 11 Steps to Structuring a Science Paper, Scientific Article Editors Will Take Seriously. So this is written by Angel Borja in 2021. And he is an expert scientist from Spain, and he is also the editor of several journals. So he has, sufficient experience, in reviewing different articles from different areas of. He is working in the field of marine and oceanography. So, I read many articles related to structuring science papers, and I follow this method. And I started my research activities in 2010, but I was following almost the same structure. But after reading this paper, I understood that there are specific steps when writing scientific article. There are some rules and regulations. Sometimes uh, we don't know exact difference between abstract and conclusion, and what to write in introduction, what to write in discussion part. So there are many doubts. Even if you wrote more than 10 articles, also sometimes we feel some doubt. Okay, what to include here, what to. So this to avoid to get more idea, this paper is very useful. 11 steps to structuring. I will share the link at the end of this talk. And 11 steps structuring a science paper editors will take seriously. So I told you, he is an editor of several journals. And other than science articles, he writes many general uh, articles related to scientific publishing, scientific writing and publishing. So if you just note down his name, you can read his general papers on scientific writing and publishing. And so see his H index. He has an H index of 1,000, and he is an expert in his field. So that is why he is an expert in his field of research. Other than that one, he is also a good advisor of how to formally write scientific articles, and how to uh, structure with all the rules and regulations. So whenever you get time, read the general articles on scientific writing and publishing written by Professor Angel Borg. So before you set out to write paper, there are two important things you should do. So now, what is the step? You have identified a topic, or you got the topic from your advice, and you worked on that topic with the definitive objective and hypothesis. You worked on that topic, and suppose 6 months you are working on that topic. So first step is you identified a topic, uh, that is maybe your topic, your idea, or your supervisor idea, whatever. Then you work on that topic for suppose next 6 months. Then you got many results, everything, you are ready. Please note, you are not ready to write the scientific article. Okay, please note, review the literature related to topic, and read minimum 30 papers. That is very, very important. Okay, so you have identified topic, you did 6 months research on that topic, and you obtained some results, but you need to read, I'm suggesting, or in this paper they are suggesting, read at least 30 papers related to that topic. Okay, at least 30 topics, 30 research article related to that paper. Especially it is better to follow primary literature. That means original research article. Follow minimum 30, read minimum 30 original research articles related to that area. Then only, this, you can use these papers when you write introduction and all. We'll discuss that later. But proper literature review is very, very, that is why I already mentioned the importance of literature review. So you did the research and you have many results, but don't start writing. Read at least 30 papers related to that area. After reading 30 papers only, you start writing. I have noticed that what students do, they get a result, then they start writing. Then you need to get some idea, they do literature review. Not like that. First you do a detailed literature review, then you start writing. That is the best option. You can use all these suitable references, you can cite in your research, in your scientific article. So step one. So next 15 minutes, we are going to discuss one by one, step 1 to step 11. Okay. So step 1 is prepare the figures and tables. That was the step 1. So we all know that a figure is like, worth 1,000 words. You don't want to, if you have a proper figure, you don't want to write again and again to explain the result. So always use quality figures. That is always, we know that if you take any research article, 99.99% research article, you see figures, tables, and all. That means it's a figure is worth 1,000 words. So illustrations including figures, tables are most important, and it is the most beautiful or most suitable method to present your results. So always make quality figures and images and tables when you present results. And another thing, figure and table legend must be self-explanatory. So always when you give figure legends and captions, always give clear sentence. So some people I have noticed that figure they give uh, like a 3-word or 4-word sentence. Write a detailed sentence with 16 words or 20 words. You explain what is mean by this figure. Some people write experimental setup for used for the study. Not like that. Okay, don't write experimental setup used for the investigation. So it doesn't give any information about your details of your experiment or what work you are doing. So always give a detailed caption, like detailed legends when you present your figures and images. See, I'm showing one example here. Here you can see that, sorry, the left side, left side you can see one figure. There is, I can see there is no axis label name. Y-axis, I don't know what is the value. X-axis, there is no value. And there are many data points. It is not clear. But see on the one graph on the right. So you have time, microseconds, intensity, density, ion density. Sorry. Okay. So ion density on y-axis, and the legends are very clear with with the numbers. So properly, when you present graphs, so follow the right one, don't follow the left one. So I have noticed that recently also I noticed with some PhD students, they plot 10, 12 legends on the same graph. Don't plot 10 or 11 curves on the same graph. So minimum 5, 6. So more than that, we cannot extract the the mechanism or observation. So avoid crowded plots. Think about appropriate axis, label, size, and name, and easy to distinguish. Never include long boring tables. Suppose if you have a table with different rows, like 30 rows, don't include like that. So if you have detailed tables, you can include that as a supplementary materials. Nowadays that option is there. Most of the journals give that option, supplementary material. So don't include lengthy table, don't include all figures. Suppose if you have done experiments at a different pressure or temperature conditions, so you should not add all the graphs in the into the paper. So that's always include the most relevant figures and tables. That is another suggestion. See these figures on top 2 figures, we cannot, it is not eye charts. In the when you visit eye hospitals, they show some letters with the different sizes and all. So please note that your figures are not eye charts. Make them large enough to read. See the bottom one, each data point I have given error bar. Each data point has a clear. So you have to properly mark the legends. You have to properly mark the x-axis, y-axis, font size. Everything should be perfect. And after that, you give a proper caption. That is also very important. The figure is not sufficient. You have to give proper caption for the figure. That is most important. And another thing, use suitable kind of chart. Sometimes if you need a 3D plot, you can follow this method. And if 2D, you can follow the second one. And sometimes pie diagram, sometimes bar diagram. Depend on your requirement, depend on your data. You have to use the right kind of chart for your data. That is most important. Okay. So that is another important thing. And another thing nowadays, 3D drawing. See the figure 3D figure on left, it is drawn by one of my MSc students, and see, this image looks like a photo. It's not real. It's like 3D drawing left side that is drawn using Blender one. And the second one, it is I took from a research article in my area, and it is they're drawn using this one CAD software. So that is very important when you present something like very clearly like a 3D drawing. That is useful. That also is directly related to the quality of your research article, scientific article. So always use, if possible, always use, these are, this Blender Rental is a free software. So you can download and you can, but it takes some time to learn. You need a minimum like, 4-6 months. If you draw 10 figures only, you can be an expert in this area. So always like, draw like 3D, expert in 3D drawing, always use right kind of chart, and always use like, clarity, font size, like, font names and legends properly. So that is all about the first one. And nowadays, the data is, you have heavy data. In the past, when we were doing research and we have limited data, limited X data points, limited Y data points. But nowadays, data you have like, 40,000 X data, 40,000 Y value. Okay, then Z value. So you have sometimes millions of data points. That time, you cannot use like, normal softwares. So you have to depend on software tools for data analysis. I think there are definitely like, specific softwares in your area. So follow that software and always use, softwares and programming languages to like, properly analyze your data. That is very important. Normal data analysis, we cannot do, especially if you have like, bulk data, it is not easy to process with process manually. So always use like, software tools and the programming languages to properly analyze your data. That is very, very important. That is all about step one. The second one is step two. Step two means method. Okay. For method means, suppose you have a research topic, and if you have done experimental work, you can write it is experimental detail or experimental methods. For example, if you are doing some psychology data analysis, that is, you can write like methods. What are the methods you followed? Okay, that is known as a methods. Second, that means it is a section response to the question how the problem was studied. That is the thing. So how you obtain how you did your research. That is how, or you got some many graphs, many results, and these methods explain the question how the problem was studied. So clearly explain the experimental procedure. If it is experimental study, properly explain the experimental procedure. Do not repeat the details of established method. For example, suppose if you are taking average, or if you are taking standard deviation, and if you are taking some standard blood pressure or temperature measurements, if it is a very standard approach, you should not write that in a detail. Okay, if it is a already published method, you can like, just cite. No need to again draw the experimental figure and all. Okay, so that is the thing. So do not repeat the details of established method. If it is something new method you are introducing, you can include the experimental setup and all. If it is an already established, well-established method, you should not draw the experimental details again and all. So you can cite the appropriate journals or your previously published papers. And use always standard systems for numbers and nomenclature. Suppose if you are working with the different pressure conditions, pressure, there are different units. For example, Pascal, Newton per meter square, millibar, torr, like different units are there. For example, mass, we follow kilogram or pounds. So different units are there, but you follow that. I'm not telling. So I'm not telling you to follow the SI system. So use numbers and nomenclature that is commonly used in your research community. So that is the most important thing. So I'm not telling you to use the SI system always. So different community, still we use like, specific units. So use that numbers and nomenclature when you write research article. It should be like, common in your research community. If you are working in bio, you can use the names and numbers that is related to your field, and add major technical details of instrument software used for the data analysis. Always you have to mention which instrument, which software you used for, because especially management students and social science people, they use different softwares for analysis, and in science students also they use instruments, and theory people, they use different software and things. So everything in methods, you had to respond to the question how the problem was studied. So write a detailed one. I'm not telling to write 4 or 5 paragraphs. Maximum 2 paragraphs you write what are the methods you follow. And when I tell like 2 paragraph or 3 paragraphs, students always ask, what is the length of a title? What is the how many words I can include in abstract? How many paragraphs I can include in like introduction, methods, results, and discussion? There are like students are like confused about the length of the manuscript. See, please note, there are no like standard rules and regulations about the length of the manuscript. But in this journal, they suggest that if you use a word, nowadays most of you are using LaTeX, but I'm telling, if you in the word A4 size you consider, if you complete a normal research article, I'm not telling about the letters and all. If you are writing a detailed research article, normal research article, the with the double spacing, it is approximately 40 pages. With the double spacing, it is from 25 to 40 pages. Usually, when I write research article, usually 20 to 25. That is like, with the double spacing, I usually get without supplementary material, I'm telling. Okay. So please note, title, short and informative. There is no rules and regulation for title. Usually, it's like a 1 sentence. And abstract, 1 paragraph, not more than that one. Yeah, like, 250 to 300 words maximum. Introduction, 1.5 to 2 pages. Methods, 2 to 3 pages. Okay. Results, 6 to 8. Discussion, 4 to 6. Conclusion, 1 paragraph. Figures, 6 to 8 pages, 1 per page. And tables, 1 to 3. And references, maximum like, 20 to 50 references, 2 to 4 pages. So I'm not telling this is the standard rule, but if possible, you look on the lower limit. Introduction 1.5, methods 2, results 6, discussion 4, conclusion 1, figures 6, table 1. So at least, you have to write or include minimum numbers. These minimum numbers are very important. Otherwise, you don't get like, when you present your scientific result line, suppose you are working 6 months, 1 year, 2 years on a work, and you properly define all the things, and minimum like, 25 to 25 pages they are suggesting, and to 40 pages maximum. This is excluding the supplementary materials. Supplementary materials, you can include lengthy tables. Recently, I reviewed a paper. It was with 487 pages. 487 pages. Out of this, only like, 32 pages was the article. Remaining all the like, data was from the supplementary materials. So you can include supplementary materials as heavy, like, bulk data, but you should not include supplementary materials in the main article. So that is the minimal rule, because the newly joined research scholars, when you write first research article, students are always concerned like about this one, length of the. So if possible, follow the minimum. When you write your first research article, follow the like, minimum number as shown in this slide. Next is the results. Like, last 6 months or 1 year, you are working on a topic. You did a lot of analysis, data analysis. You collected a lot of data. You did analysis, theoretical, everything. And what you have found, that is the results. So among like, all the studies you have done, what are your outcome? That you have to include in results. Okay, hence only representative results from here should be present. Only I'm telling you to the graphs and images. Results should be like, this only based on these results only we are going to next part. Discussion is based on results only. Okay, so suppose if you have done many research means suppose you are measuring the light emission as a function of temperature, as a function of pressure. If you have done different studies, suppose psychological mental analysis of people from India, people from United States. So if you do some different types of analysis, you can make subheading. Okay, behavior of Western people, like behavior of Indian people, like you can make subheadings in the results. And please note, you should not no need to include any reference in this section. Okay, you don't want to include any references in this section. So please note, we have discussed about first you make the figures and tables. That is the first part. And in the second part, you write about the methods, what and all methods you follow to get your results. And in the third section, you write all the results you obtain. What this is the outcome of your research that you are going to discuss, that you are going to publish as a scientific article. So this is the results now you have. You can make subheadings, whatever you want. And please note, you don't want to include any, because now you are telling your results. Okay. If you want to compare with other results, we can do that in the discussion part. You don't want to include any reference in this section. And when you present results, always follow these rules. There are some statistical rules. See, suppose your data, if you are measuring the temperature of something, you measure temperature many times and you take the average, then plus or minus, you keep the standard deviation. Okay, that is very, very important. Don't write the size of the nanoparticle is 43. Okay, the average height or average temperature of this room is this value. Don't write like in a value. In scientific measurements, we do measurements 2, 3 times, 2, 3, 4, many times. So that time, you get always standard deviation. So always keep the error or standard deviation associated with number. Okay, so don't write randomly approximately 7 years. Okay, so don't tell anything. We did these measurements for many hours like that. So always give minutes or in seconds. So that is, be very precise when you write numbers. Then, another thing is you should not become more more precision is also important. Suppose after calculation, 1 by 3, you are getting any other by dividing, suppose you are getting 2.078564444. So you should not write like that, because if you write like this, that means your instrument or your data analysis has that much precision. So if you are doing experiments, you don't need to write 2.08 is sufficient, because if you write this much numbers, if your instrument has that much resolution, it is okay. But usually your instrument may not have that much resolution. That is in Armstrong or picometer or femtometer. So that time, you should not write like a 2.07856. That is not a scientific method. So always write numbers based on the what is the resolution of your instrument. And never use suppose you have one is yes and one is no, 1 out of 2, and you should not write 50%. So when you use 50%, and don't write the percentage of small numbers. So you take if you have large numbers, you can if 1 out of 2 should not be replaced by 50%. It is 50%. Ideally, it is 50%, but in research, it is there is no meaning. If you doing measurements 2 times and you are telling 1 out of 2 should not be replaced by 50%. Okay, so when you write, there are some statistical rules. When you write your results, always use your mean value and standard deviation, and use your precision should not be better than your resolution. Always adjust with your resolution of the instrument, and always never use percentage for very small samples numbers. Next is the discussion. That is the the most important section of your article. If anyone asks which is the most important section of the research article, I would say the results and discussion part. Please note, huge numbers of manuscripts are rejected due to the discussion is weak. I will tell how editors review the article. First, they go through the abstract, then they go through the discussion results and discussion part. So after reading the results and discussion part, we can easily take a decision. There is no need of confusion. First we read, as a reviewer, we read the abstract, title, abstract, then we directly jump into the results and discussion part. So the structure of writing results and discussion, when we can easily take decision, we should reject or we should revise the article. Or so see, please note, this is the most important section of your article. So result, please note, you need to make the discussion corresponding to results, but do not reiterate the results. People always repeat, we got a graph like this, graph like that. So you should not, in the discussion part, you should not repeatedly explain your results and again. We have already explained all the results. Now you are going to discuss. Okay, so you need to compare your results with other studies on or same or similar with the proper citation. So now you got the result. You have the proper results, and now you are discussing. Okay, what is the relevance of this study? What is the, if I get this value, okay, it is useful for something, and similar, some others obtained this similar result. And comparing, you should properly compare your result with other studies and properly cite. See, some people neglect some papers and all, that is not good. Always use to properly cite the thing. And you can see the last point, never ignore the work that is disagreement with your work. Okay, so you should properly refer the even that is disagreement with your use. But the problem, even if you cite that one, you should not support their result. So you can cite that work disagreement with your work, but you should convince the reader that you are correct or your work is better than that. Okay, but what people do, the works that is disagreement with your works, they neglect that work. They don't cite that work. You should not do that one. That is not a professional method. Even if it is a disagreement with your study, you cite that one, but finally, you convince that the work you have done, all the works you have done are correct and better than the other study. That is very, very important. And, results and discussion, avoid statements that go beyond, what results can support. Suppose you have invented a antibiotic, and it is very useful for a particular disease. And you should not write, this can be used for this disease as well, or this sample can be used for other applications as well. If you have done, you write it. Some people write like unwanted sentence, we did this study, we obtained this result or this sample, this outcome can be used for that study as well. Like, you can just tell, but the thing, you have to properly, if you have proof, that is a scientific article difference. If you have proper proof, then only you can. I'm not telling completely, not telling to completely avoid such sentences, but if you have proper, if you are completely sure that your work can support. So that is a situation. Then next is a 5 to 20 reference minimum. In the results and discussion part, you should include minimum 5 to 20 references. That is very, very useful. And at least you have to. That is, I recently I reviewed many articles. They cite 2-3 articles. Cite 2-3 articles in the research articles in the research and discussion part. That is not good. Okay, so first sentence, avoid statements that go beyond what the results can support, and 5 to 20 reference minimum, and explain what is new without exaggerating. Okay, explain. People tell this is the first report, this is the first time we are reporting on the unwanted sentence. If it is something new, you can tell. But some people, if it is an incremental work and all, there is no meaning in exaggerating. Okay, most of our work, if it is an incremental work, then there is no meaning in exaggerating that. If it is entirely, if you're getting entirely new results, okay, you can highlight that one. But for a normal result, if you are exaggerating, editors, is an expert. The first reader of, we generally tell this one. First reader of your article is an expert, not the common audience. The first reader of your article is the editor of that journal. So he is an expert in that area. So what happens, if you are exaggerating in results, normal results, they automatically directly reject. They don't send for even review also. So that also happens. Include simulation results if available to support your results. That is very, very important. Nowadays simulation is commonly different simulation platforms are available. Before doing, you can simulate the experiments. You can simulate the conditions. So if you have simulation results, that will help you to support your experimental results. Then that would be very useful to support your results. That will strengthen your research article. And always, when you discuss, it should align with the objective. When you start working on a particular topic, you have an objective and you have results. So when you write the discussion part, it should be justify your objective and your research, your topic of interest. If that is not aligned, that will deviate from the from your objective. So your results and discussion part should align with the your objectives. That are the things you should be very careful when you write a discussion. So these are the now we discussed 4 important things. First, prepare figures and tables. Second, methods. And third step is writing the results. Fourth is discussion. Some people write results and discussion together. That is not a problem. And step 3 and 4, in science articles, and it is a single step. 3 and 4 together, results and discussion. And now we are coming to the conclusion. Step 5 is a conclusion. So conclusion is focused at the focused section at the end of the article that reiterates the key findings, interprets their significance, highlights the limitation, and suggests future research direction. It is many people confuse whether it is similar to abstract. So conclusion, you have done you have completed your study. Now you are concluding. Okay. So this is actually reiterates the key findings. What are your key findings? Interprets their significance. So write all your major results and its importance, and highlight you can also explain the limitations. If you have study has something, if your study is limited by some experimental conditions or something, you can tell that is these are the limitations of the existing study, and you can also suggest some future directions also in the if you have some plan also in that direction, you can explain that in the conclusion. But you should not explain that things limitations or future directions in the abstract. Okay, this is only in the conclusion part. Please do not include citations. No need of because already we discussed results and discussion, and we cited suitable journals, and no need to repeat like that citations again in the conclusion. So conclusion, you should not include any citations. If you have any queries, we can discuss at the end of this talk. We will discuss, in the. I think we need 15 minutes to complete this talk. And second most difficult part. So most difficult part of a research article is a results and discussion part, and second difficult part is the introduction. So introduction, you had to answer many things. What is the problem to be solved? What are the existing solution? What is the best one? What is the limitations? What do you hope to achieve? Hypothesis, objective, everything you have to include in them. For example, I'm telling an example. Usually I tell this example. Suppose you want to identify your blood group without taking blood outside, without drawing blood. You want to identify your blood group. Suppose that is the issue. Okay, what is your research problem? You want to identify your blood group without drawing blood from your body. Okay, so this work is a lot of work is going in this area. From your sweat analysis, from different analysis, we can identify, but it is not a standard method. It is not yet commercially available. It is not common in the hospitals. So what we have to do, we have to identify what are the problems to be solved? Is there an existing solution? If there is an existing solution, or if there are many existing solutions, what is the best one? And what is the limitations of that best one? And then, you explain your work. So I have this many ideas I'm going to implement. So that is the real problem. You have a problem and you identify what are the existing solutions to solve this problem, which is the best one, and what is the limitation of the best one, and then you propose your idea. All these things should be addressed in the introduction part. It's not easy. So I think, I hope all of you noticed when you write a MSc thesis or a PhD dissertation center, we write introduction at the last. First we write all chapters, then experimental part, then finally only we write introduction. Even in the most people, they write introduction at the last, because it's not easy. Writing introduction is you need a very broad idea. All like idea, you had to see. Second part, when we editors read your introduction also, they easily understand whether this group has good idea about all the activities happened. So it's like, brief literature review, like, you need excellent like a literature review to write that is, I already told you, before start writing the scientific article, you have to read minimum 30 research articles. Then only, start writing. So if you do literature review, you can include that references in the introduction part and in the results and discussion part. So proper literature review is very, very important for any researchers. So in the introduction, you should address all these things, problems to be solved, existing solutions, best one, the limitation of the best method, and finally, your idea. Then only you explain the methods, results, discussion. So very, very important. And objective must be clearly remarked at the end of the in the introduction, last paragraph, introduction usually, 4 paragraphs, 5 paragraphs and all. So at the end of the introduction, the last paragraph of the introduction, you must explain the objective of this work. Okay, objective must be clearly mentioned at the end of the introduction. That is very important. And most of the people write like this one, this is the first ever report on, this is the like, first time, first study on this sample, like that. If it is a extremely like, first study, you can write like that. But if it is an incremental work, you should not write like this novelty, like, first time, first ever, paradigm shift or paradigm change. So like that, you should not, can sparingly use that one. But the problem, if it is really relevant for your journal, then only use the first report, first ever, like paradigm changing, like that. You should not use such words, because editors, they read daily 20, 30, like, weekly they read 20, 30 articles. So they understand, like, if you are writing, like, just for like, for a style, you should not write like that. And include minimum, 5 to 20 reference introduction. Okay. Remember to focus on quality and not on the quantity. Okay. The quality always matters. You always cite the proper appropriate journals. Editors look this also. If suppose, if there is a like, most cited paper in that area, editors check whether they have included the popular book in that field, popular most cited journal, or it is most relevant to, because there are many articles, maybe most relevant related to your study. So you should cite all that appropriate reference in the introduction. If you are not citing that one, that means you are not aware about that work. Okay. So if you have done proper literature review, you should include all this. So if you have not included it means that you haven't done proper literature review. So include minimum 5 to 20 reference. Please note, these are not standard rules and regulations, but it is better to have like 5 to 20 reference in the introduction. Then it is a proof that you have done a proper literature review and you have proper objectives. So all these things you should include in the introduction. So I already mentioned monthly I review minimum 1 article, science article. So I am reviewing many research articles in the field of physics and related areas. So when we do this, I first we check the, as I mentioned, first we check the abstract, title abstract, Then, we move to the results and discussion part. Sometimes I noticed that, there were no reference in the results and discussion part. Some people, they don't cite even one reference in the results. That time, it is easy for us. We can directly reject the journal. So what I am telling in this talk, what we aim is there are many rules and regulations when you write scientific articles. You should follow minimum that rules and regulations. Okay, if you cite only like one article in the introduction, one in the rough results and discussion, that is not good. Okay, so even it is an extremely new work also, there are many works related to that one. There should be many works related to that. So that, you should include properly in the introduction part and results and discussion part. So when the editors, we are just reviewers only. Editors, they have like options to read many articles. So please note, the first reader of your article is an expert. First reader of your article, your manuscript, is not a common person. He is an expert in that area. He is an editor of your that journal. So be very careful when you send. So abstract, finally, step 7 is abstract. Abstract summarize the entire article, like, no need to include all results center objectives, like, what was the issue, then this is your objective, then methods, like, don't write detail, like, key results, its implications, and in a concise form, like, maximum 150 to 250 words, maximum one paragraph. Again, here you should not include citations. You know that it is comes at the after title. Abstract comes after title. So that is the thing. So abstract summarizes the entire research article. So if you write an abstract, that should address the, like, what was the issue, your objective, key results, and its significance, and, like, in a, like, concise form. So that is a very important abstract, it should be very perfect thing. That is, I usually consider, if you're expert in a subject, you can read conclusion. But when you read an abstract, it should be suitable to the like, newcomers also. If some new researchers or students are coming to that area, they also, you should consider their like, level also. So when you write abstracts, you should not write like complicated technical jargon in that one. So you write like, general things. These are the, like, objective. We got these results, and this has this much significant. Like, okay, that is abstract. So it in conclusion, you have more results. You can mention limitations. You can give some future suggestions and all. But in the conclusion, abstract is like, precise. Should be very careful when you write abstract. Again, please do not include citations here. Finally, the title. Title, it is don't write like, here I have given an example. Action of antibiotics on bacteria. So it is not clear which antibiotic, which type of bacteria. Okay, so that is a revised title. You see, inhibition of growth of mycobacterium tuberculosis by streptomycin. Okay, that is the antibiotic. So you had to properly mention what type of disease and what is the name of, like, it should be like, you have to get some idea. Should not like, some characterization of some samples like that. Okay, action of antibiotics on bacteria, it is not clear. It's not like, we are not getting full idea about the topic. So subject should be clear, descriptive, and not too long. Okay, clear, descriptive. Okay, not too long and not too short also. Okay, must avoid technical jargon and abbreviations. Some people like, very technical words, that is understandable only to that area, people working in that area. That is not good. You have to write like, it should be like, digestible to, like, common science people also. So that is like, avoid technical jargon and abbreviations if possible. So always give a clear and a descriptive title, not too long or too short. And keywords, keywords is another important thing. When you write keywords, always use like, most important keywords. That is, you can write, now you have like, completed the introduction, you have completed abstract, results and discussion, conclusion, everything complete. Now they are suggesting you to take the keywords, most important keywords of your scientific article. That is easy for, you, because you last many years you are working in that area. So use, very suitable keywords. And you can use if it is a very popular short forms, you can use, for example, MRI. Okay. So like that, if it is a very common, like, short abbreviations you can use. Otherwise, don't use like, short forms, abbreviations in the title. And you have to look how many keywords are usually 5 keywords are allowed in most of the channels, or sometimes less than that one. So when you write keywords, use the proper, like, keywords, which is very, very suitable to your channel. And finally, we are coming to the last stage of your article, acknowledgement. That is very, very, very important. Some people, forget those who supported your work. Never do like that. Always give site acknowledgement. Those who provide technical assistance, writing assistance, proofreading, like, instrumental assistance, all the things, you have to cite. And also, you should thank your funding agency if you are getting some fellowship. If you are working under a project, you should properly cite the government and its project funding scheme, RUSA, like, different schemes are there. SERB project, ANRF, like you have, like, standard UGC projects and all. So all the funding agency you should properly cite, because especially when scientific instruments, crores of amount government is spending for your research. So you should properly cite all the people who supported your work, including the government funding grant fellowship agencies. That is very important. Some people I notice that they don't acknowledge anyone, but it is better, you acknowledge, even if it is a technical assistant, writing, as even proofreading. Some people, we take proofreading from some experts. So you acknowledge them also. Okay, there is no issue. So always, you never forget to, like, properly acknowledge all the people who supported your work. And write up the proper, reference. Reference you have always use. Don't keep references manually. If you are nowadays, most of you are using LaTeX, there are standard bibliography rules and other. If you are using LaTeX, it is okay. Other, if you are using a Word user, you can use Mendeley, EndNote, or Cetero, like that. Platforms are there, so you can use that one. So always use. You should not. What is my recommendation? You should not insert reference manually, because when you write it, like, if you have when you write review articles, there are hundreds of articles. You cannot manually cite. It's like a time consuming. So always use reference management software. It's also known as a reference management software. Mendeley, EndNote. EndNote, it's not free. Mendeley and Cetero are free softwares. You can download and use. Or LaTeX is also free. So you can use LaTeX. It's also a writing platform. So you can use LaTeX, Mendeley to cite your references, and avoid excessive self-citation. You should not cite many articles from your group. Suppose your group published many previous topic articles on the same topic. You should not cite, like more than 10 articles. Maximum, like, 3 to 5 articles you can cite from your group. Okay. So don't avoid self-citation. That is not good. And you should not cite more articles. Some I have seen, normal regular articles, 20 to 50 are like, standard one. People like 73, 75 reference center. This is not good, if you have like good review articles, standard articles, that is enough. No need to write cite all articles. So limit citation, you should not cite too many references, and always keep all reference in the same format. That is like nowadays easy to evaluate. If your references are not in the same format, it means that you are not qualified. Because nowadays we have many softwares, many things. Then also, if your references are in the same format, means, it is not good. Even I have noticed that even MSc students, they are doing the reference and citations very properly. Recently, I evaluated many MSc students from our university. They have arranged, all references in an excellent way. All the references are in they cite 27, 30, 35 references in the MSc thesis, and all the references are in the same format. Okay. So when you even in the master thesis, they are doing in an excellent way. So when you write, submit articles, you should not, like, randomly arrange references. They check that also. That they check, before editorial office. Before going to the editor, there is an editorial, like, office staff members. They check all these things. Okay. So always keep all the reference in the same format. So now you have like, completed writing a full journal, like scientific article, and different steps. 11 steps we have discussed. Now, after completion, we need to communicate this article. That is the next step. For communicating to, nowadays it is easy. If your guide is an expert in that area, it is very easy. We know, because for example, if I work on some particular topic, I know what are the popular journals that publish this work. So otherwise, if you are not getting the proper journal as a newcomer, you may struggle to find the right journal. That time nowadays, each journal has front page journal, find journal page. Okay, journal finder. Each publisher in Elsevier or Springer, all the publishers, they have a front page journal finder. You type your abstract in the given column, then you find journal. They give the suitable journal. This is AI supported research or search only. So they give the proper journals suitable to your work. And see, this is a Springer Nature link. Here you can include the keywords and abstract and title. Okay, if you write your title, abstract, and keywords, because we have already set 5 or keywords. So use keywords, abstract, and title, you get the right journal to submit. Okay, so that is not an easy job nowadays, and other than that, guide, your supervisor, he or she knows which is a suitable journal because he has sufficient experience in that area. So that is not an issue, we say. So with this, we are coming to a conclusion. Today we discussed different topics. First, importance of scientific publishing, scientific writing and publishing. It has a significant impact on our society, directly or indirectly, and importance of literature review. And then we discussed about the steps to organizing manuscript. There are 11 steps. IMRAD format is there, but when you write your manuscript, this is the format. Figures and tables first, methods, results and discussion, conclusion, introduction, abstract, title, keywords, acknowledgements, and references. Okay, this article, I followed the article by Dr. Professor Angel Borja. This paper was published in 2021, and this article name is 11 Steps to Organizing a Research Article Editors Will Take Seriously. Okay, read this article, and I will share the link in the WhatsApp group, and read this article. I have now mentioned the summary of this research article. So I recommend everyone to read this article, especially if you are new to research field, new to scientific writing and publishing. I recommend you to read this article 2-3 times. That is a very useful. And this is the article Professor Dr. Sutendran sir mentioned in the introduction. Femtosecond, that is one of my papers that I published during my PhD. So that paper, it is entirely different. This paper we published within 1 week. Sometimes, we can publish very fast if you have some experts in that area, if you are working with some experts. And this is a letter. In this paper, there is no section, there is no introduction, methods. So this I am telling, we have general, what we have discussed is a general thing, but there are some exceptions. Exceptions. This is a letter, especially applied physics letters. There are different approach. You directly write from starting to end, different paragraphs only. There is no subsection. Okay, and this is the paper optical diagnostics of laser produced plasma. This we published in Reviews of Modern Physics. At the time of publishing, the impact factor was 54. I think now it is 45 point something. So we took 2 years to communicate. 2 years. We took 2 years. During COVID time, 2020 we started, and 2022 we published this article. So this is a review article, and one of the highest impact factor journals in the physics. And when we arrange this type of articles, we struggled a lot to, there are more than 300 or 400 references. So when you do like that, always use reference management softwares to cite, all the appropriate references. And this is my group. I am leading an applied optics division in the Department of Physics at Cochin University. My research area is laser ablation, laser-induced breakdown spectroscopy, laser surface structuring, laser-produced plasma characterization. and we collaborate with different groups in India and abroad, and we have funding from SERB, UGC, and ROSA and state government fundings. And these are the things with this, I especially thank Dr. Surendran for organizing this workshop webinar. And in the past, we conducted similar programs at Cochin University. We got an excellent response. That is why we did this online. So because of your motivation only, I'm doing this one. So thank you, sir, for organizing and inviting me to this platform. And I hope all of you enjoyed this session. At least I hope you got something from this session. And now I think we have some time for to discuss one or two questions. We planned for 1 hour, but it took 1.5 hours. I hope it was not a boring session. I hope you got something from something for your research activities. And if you have any queries, you can contact with these details. My homepage is anoopkk.com. My email ID anoopkk@cusat.ac.in, and my number is also available. If you have any queries, you can. 1 minute. Sir, now you are the host. Surendra sir.
Yes, now I have muted all participants. I can ask questions or.
So first, let me share the link related to the e-library USA, because 1 minute.